Good day, everyone. I'm your moderator, Lee Judge, and welcome to today's webinar entitled Efficient Call Resolution Regardless of Complexity Level, a case study webinar featuring the University of Derby, brought to you by Jacada. As a note, to honor the privacy of our attendees, only your name will appear in the attendee window. Our presenter today is Natalie Travis, Systems Development Officer of Admissions at University of Derby. Today we will discuss how the University of Derby delivered efficient call resolution and excellent customer experience by easily integrating Jacada Agent Guidance with the university's existing Zendesk infrastructure. Also, they will share the challenges and actual results of their implementation. Following the presentation, there will be a question and answer session, so please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A window at any time during the event. Again, to honor the privacy of our attendees, only your name will appear in the attendee window. So let's begin. Natalie, the presentation is all yours.
Thank you, Lee. Welcome to everyone who's joined my webinar. I'm Natalie Travis, as Lee mentioned, Systems Development Officer at the University of Derby, who has had the pleasure of working with Jacada and implementing a scripting tool into our main clearing process. Okay, so just a little bit about the University of Derby. We are a higher education university in the UK, and we have three main campuses based in various different sites across the UK, predominantly within around a 60-mile radius. We offer a wide range of different programs, both postgraduate, undergraduate, online learning, and we've invested lots of money recently into new facilities here at the university in specialised areas around our sports centre, a forensic house, which the local police also use for their training. We have a Crown courtroom and spa facilities. We've also recently been awarded the Gold TEF rating, which is a UK government award, an excellence framework. So that puts us in the top 20% of HE providers within the UK to achieve this. So obviously it's a great thing for us to kind of celebrate in relation to our excellence in teaching. Okay, you can find out more information obviously on our website. Just to put a little bit of context around what our challenge was, the admissions team receive approximately 26,000 applications a year, and that's for our on-campus-based students. We also have to deal with approximately 25,000 emails within a year and a similar number of phone calls that come in purely to the admissions team, and that has to be managed with around 14 members of staff. So as you can appreciate, it's a really, really busy time for our team. So what we actually find is that our challenge was during our clearing process. So clearing is a service that that is used within the UK to gain entry to higher education for those students that haven't been able to secure a place in the main cycle. That tends to happen between July and September, but we have a really peak period over approximately 3 days when the results come out, where our call volumes rocket through the roof and our email inquiries rocket. So our challenge was how could we manage that? And how could we implement a system that allowed us to work on such a large-scale operation? We had to involve a whole wide range of staff across the university, so approximately 450 staff supported the clearing process. These were staff who'd never had much contact with admissions or knew very little about the process. So we obviously had to work out how we would be able to train them to ensure they offered the great customer experience that we wanted our students to receive. So what do we need to consider to achieve this? Okay, first we have to plan. So the key thing around any process delivery is planning. We have to identify the different types of calls that we would expect to receive within those 3 days. And we managed to split those down into a general inquiry, somebody who's actually wanting to seek a place during the clearing period. we recognised that the applicants already in the main cycle who were holding their offer, who would have some uncertainty whether they've got their place, what to do next, and obviously applicants that had changed their mind and wanted to go elsewhere and withdraw. So once we'd identified those types of people, it then allowed us to work out how we could manage the touch points for those. So we then kind of worked out what particular roles would those 450 people need to be playing to manage these different types of inquiries. So we split out our staff into various different teams, as highlighted on the presentation. We had an inquiry line that allowed us to manage general inquiries, plus those inquiries coming in from our current applicants. And we was able to escalate those back into admissions if needed. We had a main hotline where anyone wanting to seek a place could ring in. That hotline consisted this year of around 60 lines, so we was able to cope with volume. What we realised as well is that we had some certain courses where we were limited on numbers and they attracted a very high volume, so we had to manage them separately to avoid the main hotline being clogged. So we decided to set up a dedicated line, particularly for our nursing programmes. And then obviously we had our academics, so they could offer a great insight to the students ringing up about the course. They could make the offer to make sure they were suitable and aid conversion. So we even, within the 450 staff, that did include academics making the offer. And then not forgetting the most important team was admissions. Obviously they would be able to manage the escalated inquiries and then actually have the time to process the offers that were made as part of this process. So once we've identified the specific roles, this allowed us then to consider the structure for any training that was specific to those roles. What it meant is we didn't actually have to train everybody on everything. We was able to bespoke the training for those types of calls that they would make. So we also was able to make sure that we covered elements around data collection as part of the scripting. So we could make sure that all data we needed was collected, and we could also make sure that we was complying with the data protection, the GDPR rules that are coming in. So what was our plan once we've identified everything? Okay, our plan was, how do we train the 450 different staff on the different roles? How do we combine the need to train on a new computer system and give guidance on the scripting needed with the call? So kind of, you can imagine you'd have a computer, you'd have paper and lots of different processes. So we had to consider this. And how would we support the staff that needed the training? Would that be face-to-face? How would we get everybody in a room? August is our summer period in the UK, so most people are on annual leave, on holiday, so how could we manage that? We also considered the use of training guides and process flows. Again, we looked at this and decided that they would be lengthy and difficult to manage whilst you're on the telephone. So although they were all great and worked, actually how practical would that be in that short space of time? So these were all the options that we considered and identified, and we needed to make sure that it was obviously combining with our electronic systems Zendesk. Okay. So the next question was, what tool could meet our needs? What was out there, what was available on the market for us to choose to meet these training concerns that we had? With us using Zendesk as our clearing tool, we was recommended Jacada scripting. So we did some consultation, and following that consultation, we identified that actually it would integrate within our system, and it would be displayed all on one screen and be really simple to use for staff members. It was also ideal to be used as a training tool for the staff, and this is training prior to the sessions, but also training whilst they're on the calls, should it be needed. Scripting was able to be set up by role and give clear guidance on each step of the process that was needed to make sure that calls were directed or the correct information was asked for where relevant. We could also monitor the use of scriptings, so we could actually see if they were being used by staff, and then we could adjust if we felt they were too complex or too lengthy, so that intelligence gave us the information we needed. But most importantly, it also fit in with our costing budget. So we decided, and we kind of put in a business case to say that it was in an excellent, cost-efficient way to support staff training. So we found our perfect solution to the training pain. Okay. So this is just kind of a little screen to show you this is our Zendesk product, and as highlighted in the red, this is how the scripting tool integrates into our system. So imagine this on your laptop or your computer while you're on the telephone. It is quite, clear to see and gives you the different types of roles possible for you to choose to go through like a scripting process. So just wanted to show you how, it can integrate and how it can look. Okay, so I'm going to do a demonstration now just to show you the ease of use of scripting and how the tools work. So what you can see here obviously is our Zendesk product where we create tickets to track all our calls and inquiries that we have through those days. And this is where the agent scripting comes in very useful. So in this example, we're just going to take you through as if the applicant has rung up and gone through our hotline and has been passed on to one of the academics. The academics, although they have a lot of dealings with their students through the year, a lot of the academics involved in the process have actually had no experience of managing applications, so we have to give them quite a bit of guidance. So an academic that was new to the process that receives a call will be using the agent scripting as they take the call. So they'll click on academics, okay, and next. Okay. And then they'll be given step-by-step guidance of what they need to do. So the guidance here obviously is, have you received a call from the hotline, and have you retrieved the ticket number from the hotline? And then they're asked information to confirm that it is the caller on the phone relating to the ticket, and do they match? So yes, they match. And that will then give them the next set of instructions. So they're then advised to discuss the applicant's qualifications, experience, and then they're asked, can you make them an offer? Okay, so if they want to make the applicant that has called an offer, they'll click yes. Then what they'll do is they'll be asked to look at the course status. So they'll be asked, is the course open or is it full? So we're on a wait list, or is it closed? So in this case, the course is good to go, it's open. Okay, so it'll then give them some instructions. Is the course an interview-based program? So we have a big split of courses, some interview, some don't. So we'll say that this is not an interview-based course. Then this gives them the instruction of what they actually need to do within the Zendesk product. So it tells them what actions they need to take, what buttons they need to press, and what advice they need to give to the applicant. So as you can see, it can be used for two different things. It can be used for scripting to what they actually have to say to be compliant to the applicant or offer a service, but it can also be used to direct staff through your product to make sure they apply the correct processes so that then the tickets or the applicant's information is sent across to the correct department, or an offer is sent out to the applicant in this case. So then obviously it then goes back to the next step, ready for the next call. So this particular is quite a simple script, not too much confusion, it's quite easy. Some of the scripts that we have produced are really more complex and have a lot more if this, if that, and a lot more direction and rules around them. And they're very simple to set up. We recently set up a new script. It took us about a day, but that day included the planning of what the process would be, and that's your hardest task. Once you process map what your process is, it is then very simple to use the Jacada product to actually build these step-by-step processes and then embed them into your product. If you're tweaking, so for example, each year, we tend to keep similar scripts, but the year might change, or an extension number might change. So those little tweaks can be done in a matter of minutes. Okay, so we'll go back to the presentation. So what were the benefits of Jacada for Derby? Okay, so scripting was able to be integrated into Zendesk. I think that is the main thing for us, all in one screen. Okay, the functionality was really simple and easy to use. It was very clear, as you can see, and it was really easy for the user to follow. Calls to our clearing hotline then were more efficiently handled as a result, which lowered wait times for calls, because calls, if needed, were transferred through to the relevant department straight away using the scripting. Okay, again, as I've mentioned, scripting is really easy to amend and update and install into your product. Training, so they were so useful within training. We could actually get them to follow this script as part of training in our test environments. And again, they were there in the live environment to support them through the process. Scripts help give self-assurance to staff that were using them. You know, they needed to be assured that they were doing the right thing for that applicant and putting them into the right process, and that they were getting the service that they wanted to give out. Also, scripts were a guide for effective use of Zendesk, benefiting the university and the end user. So really kind of the benefits for us were really huge in using that, and kind of met all the pains that we had. So kind of linked is what problems were actually being solved. Well, we could train people. We could get to know what the processes and procedures were for the staff. They could understand a little bit more of what was happening and why, and what direction the inquiries need to go to. You could make sure that you capture all the information that was needed of an end user, so that when the inquiry got to, say, 3 steps down the line, they weren't repeating and asking for information that was missing. So that was always handy. It was really great for new staff who knew nothing about the product, so because it could integrate and help with the training. Anything, to be fair, Jacada, anything that we logged, any issues or any help that we needed, was really, really resolved very quickly by the help desk at Jacada. There's lots of information on their website, and they are very responsive when you log any inquiries that you might have. Again, installation of the scripts was effortless. Once you know what you're doing, with a little bit of training, they are so simple. And obviously, by implementing scripts is a great way as a university or as any business to actually look at your processes and to make sure that they're fit for purpose, and if there's any gaps, you know, so that you're really able to offer that service to your inquiries. And really, as I've already said, the implementation of our project was very smooth, and we didn't really hit any technical issues. And it meant for us that we had one solution that captured all our needs.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Natalie. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if anybody's got any questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie, for your valuable insights on the University of Derby's agent scripting implementation. We're going to answer as many questions as we can from the Q&A window, and then any that are remaining we'll answer directly. I also want to mention before we do the Q&A that there is a free trial of Jacada Agent Scripting available on our website at jacada.com, and I'll drop a link here in a moment in the chat window. So let's get to the questions. The question we have here first, Natalie, says, how long did it take from the moment you selected the vendor to production, including the training time?
Okay, so the initial project from conception to delivery was approximately around 6 months. But a large part of that, as I've mentioned, really was planning. I think planning all day long, requirement gathering and process mapping. This then allowed us to kind of work out and build what our design was going to be in relation to the whole clearing process. So we didn't initially start out thinking we needed a scripting product. We kind of worked out what our process was, what did we need, and how could we do that electronically. We then obviously realised the pains of, oh, how are we going to train all these staff? How are we going to do that? So I think it became quite apparent that we needed some form of scripting and how we could do that. We, just to say within the 6 months, the actual technical design of our Zendesk product probably took roughly 8 weeks. And within that 8 weeks, that included implementing the scripting. So as I've kind of touched on before, when you're building a new script, as long as you know your process, really no more than a day's job to actually build that, test it, and implement it into your product. And if you're just making a tweak, so we're now on our 4th year of using Jacada scripting, so we will just make tweaks to annually to our processes, and then we will literally update scripting within an hour and implement that. So hopefully that's answered your question.
Okay, excellent. Let's go to the next question here. The attendee asks, did you find that call times were shorter after deploying Agent Guidance, or was that not the goal?
Wasn't really the goal. The goal for us was about getting the call answered by the right person and offering the advice in the right way. Sometimes the call could be answered and there was no need to transfer or pass on to another area. But clearing inevitably is about being made an offer and that information needed to be passed on. So we found as though calls initially were not any shorter, they were actually more informative, gave us more information, and it allowed us to deal with the call the first time correctly. You know, they weren't passed around in circles, you know, oh, I don't know the answer to this, oh, I'm not sure, and you need to go here. It was more an effective process to manage that inquiry and actually keep, you know, the applicant happy on the end of the phone because they were getting the information that they needed there and then. So right first time.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. They ask, what has been the feedback of your staff members using this tool, and was there a complex learning curve?
So users reported back that they did love the scripting tool. In fact, it was described as a comfort blanket for some. So although they kind of knew the process after, you know, a shift on, they kind of thought they knew what they were doing, they had that comfort blanket to go back to, just to be, you know, reassured again that they were providing the service, they were asking the right questions, and they were directing the call to the correct place. They said it was very simple to navigate, it was very straight to the point, and it was, like I say, a great refresher tool, and there on hand for training.
Excellent. So we're at our half-hour mark almost. We're going to answer just one other question from the Q&A window, and that question is, Natalie, what made you select this vendor over other vendors you reviewed?
Basically, the fact that it integrated with our Zendesk product. So for us, that's what we needed. That was our biggest win, and it was really easy to use, and it was also recommended, and it was a good recommendation. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Natalie.
Okay.
This concludes our webinar on efficient call resolution, regardless of complexity level. Thanks again to Natalie Travis, Systems Development Officer, University of Derby. If there are any questions that we were unable to answer during today's session, we'll respond directly to you after the event. We hope that you've gained valuable insight into efficient call resolution and how you can easily utilize it to enhance your organization's customer service. A replay of the event will be available soon on Jacada.com along with a download link to the presentation. Again, thank you for attending today. Please visit us again at Jacada.com and have a wonderful day.